So we're going to begin standing in the Wuji posture, and that means you're going to have a fist width distance between your heels, toes out at a natural angle, wherever you feel the most comfortable. Bend your knees slightly so you feel ready, like to dance or to play. And then play with the alignment of your body, moving up and down. And every time you sink into your posture, see if you can bend your knees towards your second toe. And then relax your low back and be aware of your breathing and abdomen so that you can actually feel your pelvis hanging off of your rib cage. And as you allow the pelvis to hang, see if you can feel that hanging allow you to also feel like you're hanging from a string from the top of your head. Feel your rib cage like a bell hanging from the same rope that's suspending you from above. Notice your elbow creases and allow your elbows to rotate just slightly outwards so you feel a little bit of expansion and opening in your collarbones. Gently tuck your chin back just a tiny bit towards your earlobes, just in the way that opens your neck but doesn't feel like you're pulling. And take a moment and find your center of gravity, the center of your body weight, and shift it left and right, very, very small amount, till you find the middle left and right. And then, using your ankles mostly, allow your weight to move front and back, till you can find a place that feels just right for the center of your weight between your feet. And have a slight feeling that your spine might be swimming upwards through gravity once in a while, and then hanging from above the rest of the time. So anytime your body feels too heavy, too collapsed, maybe a bit stuck or stagnant, just swim a little bit upstream, and then hang from above, hanging your pelvis like a bowl, ribs like a bell, elbows turning just enough to feel your collarbones opening. Chin just a little tiny bit towards your earlobes. And since we're going to be studying standing meditation for the next few months, the smaller you make the movements, the more patient you are with each gesture, the more you're going to find a quality of release. And the last thing we want to do, if there is a last thing, especially in standing meditation, is to hold yourself still. Because to hold yourself still is the opposite of being still. You could say, in fact, that holding yourself still is imitating a freeze state, which is not great for the back of your brain or your ability to truly relax, because it tends to bring up a lot of memories that made us freeze in the past. And again, center left and right. Center front and back, center up and down. And then the last thing is just to reach ever so gently through your fingers, kind of like you're reaching for a light switch in the dark. And when you're doing that, you'll see that your middle finger is often along the seam of your pants, more or less. Then shift your weight to one leg. Space your feet about shoulder width apart. Again, knees to your second toe or to the tip of your skis. All your joints open, ankles, knees, hips, letting your pelvis hang so it feels like a bowl that's not going to spill. Play with front and back and see if you can feel your hips just in front of your heels. So you can feel all your toes touching the ground. Play with left and right, front and back. Deep breaths swimming upstream. Hanging from above, exhaling, pelvis like a bowl, ribs like a bell, elbows outwards, collarbones open, chin gently coming back to the ears. And give yourself about 1,000 years to figure all of that out. So we're going to begin with an opening that comes from the Shaolin tradition. So inhale, hands come up, and lift your shoulders a little bit. Feel your chest like you're really trying to puff it out. Turn your palms over, and then as you exhale, relax your hands and your shoulders and your ribs, and let all of that up sink down. Reaching through your fingertips, swimming upstream. Inhale. Hands come up the same way, but now we just want to bring our breath into the belly, diaphragm, chest. Let your hands roll over just to the top of your rib cage, but don't bring anything up into your shoulders. Exhale. Sinking down, emptying the chest, softening the diaphragm, pelvis like a bowl. Reaching down through your wrists, opening your elbows outwards, reaching down through your fingers. Just let up and down find their balance. One more time. Slow and gentle, inhale, very soft, through the belly, diaphragm, and just at the level of your heart. Let your hands turn over, just don't inhale too high into your chest. Exhale, hanging from above, just empty everything. Very soft. So we'll do some expanding. So just sink your tailbone back so your hands float outwards. And stand up as your hands come up, reaching up and outwards. And take a moment here and just let your fingers reach away from your spine. So you can feel your tissues connecting and stretching out a bit. But see if you can feel or imagine the feeling of your whole body, including your skin, stretching out just a little bit, just a tiny bit, as you let your hands rotate down, rotating as you exhale. Do that again. Sink back and float up. Deep inhale. Stretch the body. Exhale, slowly turning your hands over. Now time it with your breathing. Inhale. Open. Exhale. Once more. You just close your eyes so you can go with your body. Exhale. Sinking and hanging. We'll do that once more, but before we begin, we're going to feel like there's an ocean tide moving back and forth across the body. And it can be left and right, it could be kind of 45 degrees, it could be front and back. But just for you to feel that the movement is generated by the ocean, not so much by you. Not that the ocean waves come up like a swell, and then let the ocean move you around like your kelp. Your feet are anchored at the bottom of the sea, but the ocean's just giving you a full body kelp massage. This is you can spend as much time as you want playing in this environment, anytime you want. To just intuitively explore and open any spaces in the tissue body that just feel stiff. And then as the tide goes out, the same thing can happen. It's just everything is sinking downwards. Okay. So bring your hands up in front of you like you're holding onto a tree. And we're going to contract our hands inwards and make gentle, slightly small amount of strength as you make fists, and then coil your arms in like you're shrinking a little bit and holding something in and down. And then when you're ready, come out expanding and opening. And sometimes this is meant to imitate the feeling of constraint on a physical and somatic and emotional level, and then freeing and releasing that constraint. So we inhale, drawing in, using a little bit of strength. Exhale. Feel that feeling of constraint. Now we're not wanting to explode, we're just wanting to release any feelings that are trapped in the body. So we inhale, and exhale and let everything just empty. Once more. Hands fall. We're just going to bounce in our knees and let our hands swing and just play with the timing so it feels like your arms are basically kind of like a sock with a tennis ball at the end of the sock. And then notice your fingers and wrist. So as you come up, you can turn your fingers up. And then as you come down, you can swing your hands out and back. So our focus gets more and more onto the wrist. And then being nice and sort of moderate in your movements, nothing too intense. Bring your awareness into your elbow joints. And your shoulders. See if you can let your shoulders sort of roll back a bit. And then a little bit less movement, still bouncing, just a little quicker. And we're going to roll our wrists. So basically, fingers pointing down, fingers pointing up. If you really feel like you want to shake something off, then you can imagine you're trying to get something sticky off the end of your fingers. Ah! Up to you. Now we're going to bring the hands down to the sides. Still bouncing, but we're going to just flop the wrists back and forth. And then see if you can flop your wrists, timing it with the bounce. But allow the inside of your elbow joints to be the part of you that's just flopping your wrist back and forth. Okay. So we're going to be doing a lot more of those as we progress. So, another thing we want to play with is this feeling that we're opening a window that's a bit stuck. And we're doing this because we want to imitate a bit of a resistance, and in the sense of the whole body, grabbing the bottom of the window, using your legs, your core, your arms, with about maybe 2% of your strength, to imitate picking the window up, to your shoulders, turning your hands around, getting underneath of the window, pushing it up, and then grabbing onto something on the window, pulling it down, just below your collarbones, and then push. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Just a little bit of tone in the muscles once more. Pulling down. Then we're going to have our hands in front, palm up, one hand in front, and it's going to come towards the center of your face, center line of your face, little finger, ring finger, middle finger, index finger, thumb, and then spiral out in front of you, same way, little finger, ring, middle, index, thumb. So we have that going on. And then we're going to try and do the same thing with the other hand. You can see my whole body's turning left and right. So all of the turning is happening with my pelvis. And all the spiraling is happening mostly with my wrists. But everything's connected from the earth all the way through my fingernails. When I have good posture, good structure. And the other way. Okay. Just place your hands on your waist or on the waistband of your clothing. Maybe bring your feet just a little closer together so they're just below your shoulder joints. And we're going to circle the hips and waist. Don't go too fast because we're not just sort of spinning. We're being very clear that we're wanting to open all of the connective tissue throughout the whole body. You can see I'm kind of counterbalancing with my head. I'm just going to turn to the side. If you have any concerns with injuries in your back or your neck, be really slow. Don't go too far. And then we'll do the circle the other way. Two more circles. Reach up through the top of your head. Hang from above. So place your left foot right underneath your center of gravity. Bring your right foot in front, just about one small step. And then sink into your left leg. So again, your knees going through your second toe or to the tip of your skis, if you can imagine wearing skis. hip just in front of the heel so that you can feel your toes gently gripping the ground. Pelvis like a bowl. Ribs like a bell sitting right over the pelvis so that your body feels very aligned up and down. Then we're going to pick up this leg, but we're going to do it very slowly, right up the center line, and then take a moment and pause. Imagine there's a cup of tea sitting here on your knee. Open your pelvis. Make sure your spine feels open. Let your leg come forward a little bit, and then just do 9 circles. And 9 circles the other way. Use our hand as a counterbalance. Bring your foot down. Same process. Root, step, knees, skis, hips, heels, pelvis, bowl, ribs, bell, arms open, neck open, knee comes up, cup of tea, leave your hand on the knee. Foot comes forward, counterbalance, 9 circles. The other way. And settle. Same thing again. Post, knees, hip, pelvis. Get your structure, knee comes up. And then just circles with your foot. Other way. Have fun counterbalancing. Come back to your structure, step down. Post into this leg, foot comes ahead. Knees, hips, pelvis. 9 circles. Other way. Okay. So just like how we began, pick your hands up. But now imagine you're holding onto something a bit heavy. Let the weight come down. Pivot at your hips. Your body sink. Let it hang. Then just swing the object in your hands. Loosen your neck. Loosen your lower back. Don't go very fast. And it's just a swing. And if you were holding on to something with a bit of weight, imagine that it lengthens out your body. And if you're fairly flexible, just make sure your hands don't touch the ground. Back to center. Imagine using that weight. Just help them with your lower spine, little wiggle, middle spine, between your shoulders, open your neck. Bend your knees. Open, pick up your lower back, middle back, through your ribs, and roll over. So that you're kind of hanging off of your core. Just let your head hang. Come back up. And relax. And just stand for a moment. So feet just a little wider, knees bent. So we're going to do something similar to what we just did. And this is called washing and hanging laundry. So imagine that you have a bunch of clothes in your hand. You're going to bend down, and using your core, you're going to stir them in a clockwise direction, or away from your body and then to the right, and then towards your body and then left. So you're stirring and washing. And then you're going to turn to the right, turning your right foot out. Then you're going to imagine you have a washboard. You want to have your spine pick itself up very fluidly, just past your knees, and then relax, again very softly. Swinging out, washing the laundry once more. And then pick the laundry up. Imagine putting it up over a clothesline. And then your hands are going to drape over the clothesline, and then imagine that you're hanging off of the clothesline. Your shoulders opening, pelvis hanging, hips opening. Come back up. Let go of the laundry line. Grab some more clothes. Dip it in the water. Now going counterclockwise. Or to the left when you're moving away from the body, and to the right when you're moving towards the body. So we're just let your body be as liquid and really relaxed and pliable as you can. And then turn your left foot out, washing the laundry. Inhale as you come up. Exhale as you come down. Once more. Open everything. Come back up. Hang the laundry over the laundry line. Reaching way up and hanging, releasing the inside of your shoulders, pelvis, open your hips, and just hang from above. Come back up and release that. There's a lot more detail in there, but just play with that for this week. So, next thing we're going to do is called weaving. And in a way, imagine you're hitchhiking and your thumbs want to go one way and then your thumbs want to go another way. And as you're turning, don't go too far. Make sure that when you're turning, you don't go far enough that your body tenses, your sort of pelvis or spine arch. Just turn as far as you can feel like you're hanging from above. Pelvis like a bowl, ribs like a bell. So the weaving part is because it kind of goes, imagine going under, over, under, over. So the next thing to be aware of is that when we're moving left and right, we want to be aware of our belly button, or the connection to our pelvis, excuse me, our sternum, center of the chest, and the nose, and your fingertips. so that when you're moving, your navel, your sternum, your nose, and your hands are all moving together. And it's good to slow this down so you can make sure your knees are to your skis, your knees never wobble, pelvis is always like a bowl, ribs are always like a bell. So now we're going to play a little game with our thumbs. So right now they're pointing in the direction that I'm going, and then they're going to turn over, but I'm not going to focus on weaving so much as I'm going to focus on rotating my forearms smoothly as I turn left and right. So if we want to break this down, because sometimes the specifics look really mechanical, but they're also those mechanics that are really sort of almost robotic, help us with flow, but also with structure. So we're going to have our hands pointing in this direction, and then we're going to turn. So right now, let's say they're parallel to the floor, and about halfway, or right in the middle, they're pointing at the roof, or the ceiling, or the sky. Then we keep turning, now they're pointing behind us. Now the tricky part, it might seem easy, is to do that without ever stopping your wrists and forearms from rotating. So once we begin to turn our spine, our forearms turn all the way, while trying to keep good structure, keep all of your joints open. Thumbs up, thumbs 45, thumbs back, thumbs 45, thumbs up, thumbs 45, thumbs back. And this is the beginning of silk reeling, which is all about getting all of your limbs and your spine rotating equally in a very coordinated way together. Now if we add that little tiny bit of up-down, like we're weaving, notice how we have to be really careful with the timing and the rotation, so that there's no time when we're rotating our spine that we're not rotating our arms. Now if that feels like it's not working the same, go back to just being level and be like a clock. Tick, tick. Now, I've been doing this almost 40 years, this specifically, and I'm still getting a lot out of just doing this. We want to have all our structural details and all of our coordination coming together. And eventually, you turn into a dragon, and the silk reeling kind of takes over everywhere. Oh yeah, and pardon my hair, I'm growing my hair out and it's just all over the place right now, so I've been trying to keep it back with some jelly stuff, just in case it looks really funny in 5 minutes. Okay, so now that we have that idea of weaving and that idea of rotating and silk reeling, we're going to play with something called wave hands. So I'm going to turn around so you can see what that's like. Maybe before wave hands though, let's just try a couple more weaving. So thumbs back, pelvis like a bowl, ribs like a bell, hanging above, from above, knees to skis, thumbs up. Relax everything, turning everything, thumbs back, reconnect everything, open everything, thumbs forward, connect everything, release everything. So I want to have that kind of meticulous sense of detail. And now we're going to pretend that in slow motion, we're kind of swimming in the reverse crawl. So if I was lying on my back in water, I'm just swimming. Kind of like a windmill. Don't worry about your hands right now. I'm going to level that out a bit. In Tai Chi, we often talk about turning to the side, catching a ball, kind of dropping the ball, changing our hand position, turning, catching a ball, dropping a ball, shifting the position. Okay, so I'll turn around. And the two things we want to be aware of, first, is the hand that's about the height of your shoulders is palm up. And then same thing, it's going to slowly rotate to palm down. And then switch your hands. Thumb is forward, palm is up. Thumb is up, palm is down. Switch your hands. Now your hand has your palm up, thumb up, palm down, switch, up, thumb up, palm down. And again, it's the smoothness of the rotation. So all the time your upper arm, tick, tick, tick. Like a clockwork, and that's not what we're not training to move like robots. We're using kind of like 80s robot dancing to actually work on coordination and timing. And when you have a sense of that, then it can be more fluid. So we can go from palm up to palm down, palm up to palm down, focusing on the upper hand. Now the next thing we want to do is notice the bottom hand. So I'm going to go to one hand for a minute. Palm up, palm down. Like you're scooping ice cream. Palm up, palm down, scoop, palm up, palm down. So switch hands, palm up across the body, palm down on the same side, scoop across the body, thumb pointing forward in the middle, palm up across the body. So anytime you're, I suppose, in life there's lots of times where we have to wait for something. Either use one hand or both hands and really work on the timing of the spirals. So just one more piece to this, and I'll go back to one hand. Quite often people say, well, your hand isn't rotating when you're going like this. And then I'll say, okay, I'm not going to rotate my arm. So I'm palm down here. Actually, no, I will rotate my arm. So I'm palm down here. I'm going to rotate my arm, scooping the ice cream to palm up here. And I'm going to rotate my arm and go back. And again, from the outside, it's like, but you're not rotating your arm. Your thumb's always pointing forward. but my arm rotation starts here. So what would it look like if I didn't rotate the inside of my shoulder? So I'm palm down here, and then I'm palm down here. So for me to go from palm down to palm up, I have to generate an inward spiral this way and then an outward spiral that way. So if we exaggerate that feeling, it's like, oh, okay, that's a really dynamic spiral too. It's just harder to see. So if you exaggerate it a bit, exaggerating can be fun. It's kind of like teasing a friend. And then we can have that feeling in the wave hands. And there's a lot of different ways to do wave hands, so we're going to play with that. So if you want to start beginning your journey of silk reeling, knees to skis, pelvis like a bowl, ribs like a bell, moving the body, navel, sternum, nose, hands all together, a little bit like a robot, until you feel the flow. And then just again, like I said, anytime you're waiting for your kettle to boil for tea or anything else, maybe just spend a minute or two playing with that. Go slow, really break it up, and then like you're dancing. And keep playing with the yin and yang of that. Okay, a couple of more things we're going to play with. Because we're getting into standing meditation, we want to be very, let's say, in agreement with the optimal structure for the body. Now, bodies are different. You have, each of you has different bone lengths than I do, heights and things, and hips and things. So when people say certain attributes of structure are the same, they are in a way, but there are a couple of things that we want to be very clear that are more specific to each of us. The first thing being how far apart your feet are. So I'm just going to use this chopstick I have strategically placed here, and I'm going to put it between my first and second toe so that I have a sense of where my alignment is going to go with that foot. Because what I'm going to do is take that foot and put the ball of my foot right where that chopstick is, and then I'm going to bend this knee carefully. And if you don't feel like this is safe, don't do this, and play with this later when you feel like your body's a bit more open that way. And I want to sink down, and I want to notice that the knee and the instep of this foot are touching each other. So I just want to make sure you can see that. So once I have that connection there, and then I turn back and come back up, my second toe should be where that chopstick is. So when I bend my knees through my second toe or knees through my skis, that sets up the alignment for your body based on the ratio of the lengths of your bones. So, thanks, chopstick. So another thing is, some people find, and you can play with this over years and years and years, some people find that it feels best to have your heel at first going through your big toe. So in order to do that, your foot has to be rotated in that way. So you bend your knees, big toe, or if you turn your feet in just a tiny little bit so that your feet are actually pointing pretty much perfectly straight through the bones of your feet, not through the instep of your foot, but through all of your foot, right? Instep, all of your foot. Now your knee goes through your second toe. Now that's biomechanically better in a structural sense, but maybe less comfortable. So play with that. Do you feel when you sink into that second toe more rooted and dynamic, or sinking through your big toe? And go with what feels the best right now. Now for some people even, they might want their feet pointing outwards just a little bit. So at first, if that's what allows you to bend your knees, open your pelvis, let it sink and drop like a bowl, then do that. But keep in mind, eventually, over time, we're going to want to shift the resting length and the connective tissue kind of holding patterns in the hips and the knees and the ankles, so you can sink right down into that second toe. But never force anything. That's never gone well, at least in the world of Qigong. So, our first standing posture has many, many names. We're going to call this the Taiji posture. Now there's two ways to do this. One is with your hands reaching down, gently, like you're reaching for a light switch in the dark. Fingers very close to the instep of your pants, if your pants have this, or to the seam of your pants, if your pants have a seam, if not, right along this band of tendon on the side of your leg. So your middle finger is kind of in that area. Now, depending on your upper body, your hands might feel a little bit more neutral, a bit farther forward. If you've done a certain amount of exercise and you're very square in your chest, your hands might not feel as good here, so they might feel a little bit better out here. So eventually we're all going to migrate into this just for the biomechanics, but don't force this. Start with wherever you're at, and over time, as you change the alignment and connective tissue with everything else in your body, then your fingers will end up in the right spot. But it isn't actually about your fingers. Your fingers are just you could say, a way of assessing how your structure and connective tissue are aligned in your body. And as we, reorient all that stuff, your finger will fall into that place. So we want to play with all that up and down, sinking down, knees to skis, joints open, left, right, front, back until your hips are just ahead of your heels. Pelvis hangs like a bowl, ribs hang like a bell. In order to hang, sometimes you have to swim upstream, stand up a little bit, hang from above, knees, hips, pelvis, rib cage, elbows gently rotating out, collarbones open, chin back, tiny bit, tiny bit. Now, as I said, there's two ways to do this. So I have this way of doing it here, where you're very much focusing on up and down. Another way to do this, and this is kind of a fun game, and this is more the way martial artists often practice this, is to move your arms outwards just a little bit, as if you're moving through a crowded, say, shopping mall or something, and your body naturally is focused horizontally on what happens if you bump into something. So this is like Tai Chi in more the martial arts sense. So there's Tai Chi in the sense of the universal sense of being completely iconically still and ready. And then there's the Tai Chi quality, which is I might bump into someone and I want to make sure that I have kind of some space around my body. So we have that feeling. Now we don't move like this. We just have that feeling with the arms just a little bit. Now I've seen some people go all the way out to here. All the way back to here. So play with that. It's almost like, I'm not making fun of people, but it might seem like that. So if I was to think of myself kind of like a rooster, and then the Zen master, just be playful. This is me, look at me, get out of my way. And then this is me going more into meditation. And for each of us, sometimes it's a good idea to have a little bit of that horizontal connection. To just feel just a tiny bit of that. And then to feel where that is, come back to stillness, keeping that horizontal kind of feeling like there's little balloons inflating inside of all of the spaces in your joints, just to make you feel more kind of resilient and springy, again, horizontally. When we're doing it vertically, up and down, we're not concerned about interaction in the physical sense. We're thinking more about interaction in consciousness and meditation. So it's good to have both. Vertical awareness, horizontal awareness. So if we have that, the one more thing we're going to do is just let the hands float up. And imagine that you're standing in a swimming pool, or maybe a river of some kind, and there's two inflatable balls, say volleyballs, and your hands are sort of resting on the volleyballs. And as you sink down into your structure, your hands are now floating on these balls. So your elbows can hang, and hang in a way that allows your collarbones and your shoulders and your shoulder blades to naturally just wrap and release around your ribs. Now you don't want to hold your shoulders back. That just causes more tension and it actually makes your neck tight. So we just want to play with, okay, elbows hang, arm bones rotate, collarbones open. And then this fun thing to do. So imagine that the volleyballs are either being drawn by the current, or maybe they don't like each other, they're the same kind of magnet or something. So once you get the hands right, knees to skis, hips to heels, pelvis like a bowl, all the alignment parts, which we're going to study for months. Elbows drop, arms rotate, shoulders open, and now the balls gently move away from each other. So you feel the gently, there's no reaching, no stretching, just this, it's more like as your body releases, the volleyball floats that way, but it's also drawing you a little bit, but it's drawing you like maybe a mouse is pulling on something. So we're never forcing, we're just exploring release. And this is of course called hands float on water. So for the next week, our homework is play with the silk reeling like it's clockwork and then like it's flow, yin and yang. With the standing, keep going through that pattern over and over again. Get the alignment right, get your feet where you want them to be, knees towards your skis, left, right, front, back until your hips feel like they're just ahead of your heels, let your pelvis release. This is an important thing actually. When your pelvis releases, we're not trying to pull the pelvis upwards in any kind of rocking movement. We're just taking the abdomen, which should be connected because we're breathing in our belly, and letting the lower back open just enough that we feel the back releasing. Now you don't need your spine to be straight or flat. It's just to feel what it's like to let your lower back release in there. So that's what we mean by pelvis like a bowl. I have seen a lot of people say, tuck your pelvis like this. And there's no biomechanical, energetic, or breathing advantage to that, except forcing your spine straight. Which may or may not be good because you're forcing, or you would be forcing if you're doing that. So, that's the homework. Play with all those structural parts. Try this posture, and then play with horizontal and vertical, and then play with this posture. Get all the alignment, the rotations, the opening, the balance, and then the release, left and right. Okay. So I've been doing standing meditation formally for about 37 years with lineage holding kind of teachers that are very, very specific. I think I'm beginning to understand it, maybe. So if there's a part of your mind or your previous experience that's, oh yeah, I have that, already I know that, great. How many thousands of hours have you resided there? Because until we spent thousands of hours residing in that isn't your body. It's just what you know about what bodies could become. So allow yourself at least the patience and humility of going, now I'm arriving in the details, now I need to spend thousands of hours becoming that kind of embodiment, that kind of structure, that kind of alignment, that kind of meditation. Because Zhan, standing meditation, is a form of sort of Zen-like meditation. Just at first, for the first few months or years, we have to get all the details. We have to maybe heal structural imbalances, old injuries, things like that. But I can guarantee you, I feel like I'm doing a commercial for something, but I can pretty much guarantee that if you really take the time to meditate as your body for your body, inside your body will shift very much its sense of itself, which will change very much your animal body sense, your visceral body sense, your intuitive body sense, your emotional body sense, your social body sense, as well as the more martial arts part, which all shift in a way that brings it into a kind of consciousness, existential practice of just stillness and meditation. So let's close the class. Inhale. Exhale, hands come to the third eye. Inhale, hands go in front of the heart. Exhale, hands come down, holding the ball. Inhale, hands float out. Exhale, hands sink down. Inhale, hands float up. Exhale, hands come together. Just pausing to respect the tradition. And as I like to do, and no one else has to do this, but as you end your practice, if you feel like you've cultivated a lot of openness and good chi, if you choose to, you can imagine holding that good chi in your hand. Think of anyone in need. Or you could, maybe because we're on January the 1st, 2024, OMG, maybe you can blow that good chi into the rest of your year, or again towards anyone in need. Okay, and then we're going to have a little Q&A afterwards.